Okay, so yes, a very good morning to everyone. This is the Woman Agenda podcast, which is now available. The audio version on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Indian Geo, as well as lots of more podcast platforms everywhere, and obviously on the YouTube channel, the Woman Agenda. Our special guest today is Amanda Shaw, who is a very talented songwriter author, I think, author.
Yeah,
Lots of stuff, lots
I
of
know.
stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, and how are you today? First of all,
I'm great, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast, Rajesh. Yeah, it's brilliant to be here. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
yeah, I'm doing good. And yeah, absolutely. And uh, I've been like I was saying been checking your website out, which is really I think it's really well set out, and it described everything about yourself and about your music. I've been obviously listening to some of the music as well, and the music is really good. And obviously,
Oh,
you do have a very very powerful voice, um, which stands out because obviously, I've said this to the music artists when we come on board, you have to be, and they say as well that you have to be unique in the music industry to get your message out and for people to like your music on there. So, how long has your music journey been so far now?
oh, it's been quite long. I mean, I would say probably maybe about 20 years, something like that. Yeah, I mean, in terms of when this all started, I mean, well, when we say the journey of it, this is kind of when I've sort of since I've been sort of writing songs, I suppose. But I mean, I've been sort of singing since I was literally tiny. So, sort of that, as soon as I could speak, I was basically singing. So yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of kind of things like musical theatre. Used to do a lot of when I was younger, a lot of the Amdram and all that kind of thing as well, which I absolutely loved. And then, I sung at Glyndebourne Opera House. Sorry, um, years ago. I was in a musical, children's musical called Mispa, and so that really kind of sparked off this sort of love of writing, and of things like musical theatre. And I kind of thought to myself, one day I would absolutely love to write a musical, and to be able to
Right.
do that. It's amazing because I've actually had the opportunity really to do that recently. I've had quite a few people who've been interested in writing with me as well.
Yeah.
And I've written about 30,000. I'll tell you more about that, but yes, it's kind of where it all started, and it sparked this kind of music journey off for me, I suppose.
So this is which we've seen on the website. This is the like is this the new album which has come out?
Yeah, I've got a new album out, which is called On My Mind. So that's got about 8 tracks on it. And I wrote it probably about, I say about a year and a half ago now. But I've only just released it. So, because it was like, it needed a couple of extra tracks in there to, sort of bring it to full fruition. But yeah, it's quite a journey, that album, and it's got quite a kind of a story behind it. Hence, I think some of the tracks that are in that may be used potentially for this musical that I'm putting together, this story that I'm putting together. So, because it does form sort of part of a story, So yeah, it. What else to say about it? Yeah, I it's got on my mind. I've got say about 8 tracks there, and and I feel like it might kind of relate to a lot of people. It's got some themes in there that hopefully will relate to a lot of people. Yeah.
And is this your how many music albums and singles? what do you have released by now? Is it like every few years or?
Yeah, I tend to like to release an album every couple of years, really. But I'll be busy kind of writing some new tracks and things, and then I tend to kind of try to put arrangements behind them, and then what I do
Right.
is kind of just see which ones kind of feel like they sit well with me. It's like I quite like this track, or this one seems to be kind of coming together quite nicely. It's quite an intuitive process, really. It sort of depends which track kind of almost calls to me, and then I'll sort of continue writing that track. So I've got now several albums out. So I've got like an acoustic album out. I've got a couple of other albums that are sort of slightly more instrumentation behind them and things. So this current album is quite acoustic in nature as well. That's I felt that actually a lot of people wanted that. They wanted the more sort of acoustic sound rather than that sort of bigger sound. And so I thought, right, okay, I'll work with that. Because the most popular album I've done is called the acoustic album. And that is literally just guitar, vocal, and piano. So yeah,
Right.
yeah, it's the live songs. Basically, it's the songs that I used to perform live. For a while, so around London and things. And so it's kind of the sound that I'll be going back to once I kind of get out there gigging properly again as well. So yeah.
So, so who actually you write the music yourself, like you said, and it's obviously done. So who helps in producing the music, and is it a specific record label, or how is it
No,
work?
no, actually, I've used a number of different producers. So yeah, it just depends on which producer kind of,
Yeah,
I feel kind of has the right sound to go with that project, I guess.
right,
So number of different producers. But yeah, the recent one was Sankofa Studios, which is in Surrey. So yeah, and he's done a great job, I think, of bringing all these sounds together, and
right,
keeping it quite a kind of a stripped back sound, but yet kind of giving it enough room, because I think that's another thing as well with music, is sometimes if you don't give it enough room to sort of breathe, it can just become a bit overwhelming of a sound. So I've tried to kind of give it plenty of room, acoustically, so that the voice can really come through and things like that, which I felt in some of my other recordings I hadn't really done. So yeah, I really wanted that for this album in particular.
and is it available? So it's available online. So I'm presuming Spotify and all these music platforms is available. Your music.
It is, yeah. You can get hold of it on Spotify. I have got a Spotify page as well. So if you look up Amy Lou Shaw,
Yeah,
I've got a Spotify page, and then you can find it. It's actually, I think some of them are on CD Baby as well. So cdbaby.com.
right.
And then it's also on Amazon, it's on iTunes, all those kind of things as well. So yeah, you'll find those albums in most places. So yeah. Also, another thing to mention is that you can find them on my website as well. So that's amyloushaw.com. So if you go to that, and then which I can give you the link to as well if you like.
Yeah, what we're gonna do is we will also put in a link to your website, obviously. So everyone, guys, you will be able to see the link on the video version, and also we will obviously mention again the audio version. For the audio version, we'll mention again in a bit. We'll mention it again. So you can also become a Patreon for Amy, so you can become a patron as well and get exclusive content on her website as well. We will mention that in a bit. We'll mention it again. So we'll mention it for the people who will be listening to the audio version of the podcast on Apple Podcasts or any podcast platforms. But the link description will be on the YouTube channel. We'll put it on there. So regarding I mean, in today's time, is it feasible to release the physical version of the album now, or is it just it's not worth anymore?
I really like that question. I I really do. I think that it would be great to have, a physical copy of the album. Definitely. Um, I think there is still value in that. I think often when you sort of playing gigs, that tends to be when people sort of buy the physical copy a bit more. So, but yes, it is something I'm thinking about, and possibly even getting some vinyl copies as well. Um, is something I'm looking at. Although at the moment, of course, the cost of sort of producing those is quite high. So, perhaps the more vinyl becomes popular again. Sort of for artists to have vinyl records again. I think then there's more of a call for it, so therefore the price hopefully will come down a bit for producing those. So that is something I'm looking into, definitely. But as you say, I mean, I absolutely love the idea of having an album where you've also got, that lovely sort of artwork at the front. You've got the photos, you've got the
Yeah,
backgrounds behind the songs, who wrote them, and the lyrics, and just a little bit more information about where these songs came from and sort of the story behind them. Because I do think a lot of people would appreciate that.
yeah,
Perhaps even having a digital copy of that as well would be cool. But I mean, it's like magazines, isn't it? You get sort of digital copies of magazines now. But if I'm honest, I've always preferred a kind of a physical copy of a magazine rather than a digital copy. It
yeah.
doesn't seem the same, does it? I
Exactly.
think.
No, it's not the same. I absolutely agree with what you're saying because when I used to read magazines, I used to prefer the physical version of a magazine rather than looking online. I don't think I've ever looked at a magazine online, to be honest. Even books, I used to prefer the physical book itself.
Yes,
Um,
yes. There's
because
something about that new book smell as
yeah,
well, isn't there? It's
exactly.
just
Nowadays, I don't get the time much to read, but because obviously when you promote the podcast and stuff, and the rest of the time it takes a lot of time. But
yeah,
and obviously this month is going to be a lot of interviewing this month. So next month. So, but regarding that, yeah, I mean, uh, can for a new music artist, I mean, first of all, just mentioning, obviously, I remember the days when you had to release a physical album. Obviously, that was back in when MJ and Kylie and all these artists they were all releasing physical copies of their music albums because that was like a mandatory at the time
yeah,
because
yeah,
because the digital wasn't that famous. But now it's like digital taken over.
yeah,
Now it's like um, who's actually going to go and spend any money in any music shop and buy a single or a album? It's very
it's
it's
very rare, isn't
very
it?
rare now.
Yeah,
Very
very
rare.
rare. I
Um,
I I think bring it back.
I,
I'd love
I
to.
I think it shouldn't go. Yeah, I don't think it should probably finish because if that finished, then I think all the music stores would close down, and I don't think that's a good thing. I think
Yeah,
those that should continue.
yeah,
Um, like vinyls have come back in fashion, kind of
yeah,
now. And
yeah.
now people
I
are listening to that.
agree. Yeah, I agree. And I think also another thing I find interesting is, when Harry Potter came out and, J.K. Rowling brought about this whole new kind of thing for reading. And
Yeah,
suddenly, people weren't really reading books, as much as they had, and suddenly it's like, oh wow, everyone got back into reading, all the kids were back into reading again and things. And it was like, wow, so sometimes I think, you know, there can be that product or there can be that thing that comes out that's just like, wow, and it brings about this revolution again of, or this kind of re-emergence of something that has been lost. I think my gut feeling is that there is a reemergence of things that we have lost over time, or lost kind of our sense of value for, I think. So the value in reading a book and sitting and reading a book, or the value in kind of having these physical copies of things. I think we want that again. I do believe it may come back again, because I feel that our world has become so digital that I do think we're kind of almost craving to have these more physical copies back again.
Yeah.
So yeah, my feeling is that it will come back. Yeah, my hope as well, actually.
So you were if I did, obviously, because we have chatted quite a lot on LinkedIn and stuff, and regarding the is this like your hobby and a profession, or is it like on the side? And you obviously, if I didn't hear you wrong, you said you were doing teaching and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, it's all part of the same thing to me.
Okay.
I mean, for me, it's like, because I'm teaching. Basically, it's like it's almost like a circular process. It's that when I learn something, I then sort of
Okay.
pass that on to my students, or it's something that, or they may sort of bring something up in a lesson that makes me think, oh yeah, actually, I haven't tried that, before in my song, for example. There's something that I just need to kind of, say in the production or something that I hadn't thought about in that song. And it's like, just because they'd sort of noticed something in the music, perhaps, that I've been teaching them, their observations. And I think, yeah, great. It's like a reflective practice in many respects. So yes, it's, I think, and it's all part of what I do. I mean, sort of obviously, talking here on this podcast, I find that interesting, because obviously, you might have ideas that then kind of can fire up my imagination, as it were, when it comes to certain things of my music, or just get me thinking about certain things. And I think, oh yes, actually, there was someone who interviewed me about a month ago or so, and actually it was really interesting, because he was saying, as a songwriter, what he does is he has so many songs, and he's like, where do I start with this? And I said, well, what do you do? What's your process with that? And he said, well, to narrow them down, I just think about which one really kind of calls to me, which one which songs are the ones that really call to my heart, And I thought, yes, that's a really great way of kind of narrowing this down, because, you can write so many songs, and I've got so many. I've literally got hundreds of songs, and I think, where do I start with this? Which one, and which
Yeah.
one is kind of telling the story that I want to tell right now? Which one? And I think sometimes you can put them to the side for a bit, and then they sort of come back again. But in terms of whether this is a hobby or a profession, I would say probably a bit of both, in a sense.
Yeah.
It has always been my hobby. Music has always been my hobby, and something that I'm very passionate about. But yes, it has sort of become a profession as well, because obviously, I do make a living out of it as well.
Yeah.
Uh, so yes.
So obviously, so just to mention, everyone who will be obviously downloading the episodes on the audio version, obviously we can put the links on the audio version. But so obviously, if you want to follow her, Amy is Amy Lou Shaw, is a Twitter handler. She's available on Facebook as well, and you can find her on Facebook on Amanda Shaw Music. So Amanda Shaw Music is her Facebook page, and
Right.
you can like it on there, and comment on Facebook as well as obviously LinkedIn. To type in, she's on LinkedIn as well. And obviously, we've noticed you're on TikTok as well. So you beaten me to it, because I don't even know how to use TikTok. I have no idea.
Yes, I'm on TikTok as well.
I,
I think, yeah,
I don't even know how. I'll be honest. I didn't even know how to use Instagram until recently. So
right, yeah,
so
yeah,
and now people are using TikTok, and there are a lot of people. Just quickly mentioning, there are a lot of people who even earn money from TikTok.
yeah.
So they know how it works. But so do you think if someone, because obviously the Woman Agenda podcast promotes, as the name suggests, we promote
Mhm.
female talent,
Yeah,
artists who are either making it, who have made it in music, like yourself, who are doing really well, and ones who are just starting in the music scene, in writing, or who have made a difference to society, and so on. Uh,
right.
what about the artists who are coming in? Can they actually make a living in music?
I believe you can, yeah. And I know you can because yeah, I mean I do really.
Yeah,
That is my sole income, I
yeah.
literally come from different streams. I mean, different sources.
Okay,
Because it's obviously I've got kind of like my albums online and they sell through digital downloads. You've got kind of so publishing as well, so being used on TV and things like that. Now it does take a bit of I suppose getting your music to the right people, and just kind of putting it out there, and contacting people and being prepared to be quite I suppose business-like about it, in a sense. You've got to kind of do your follow-up calls and that sort of thing. um, but it does work. If you keep kind of putting that music out there, it does work, definitely.
yeah,
Think for anyone who's kind of an upcoming artist, I think you know don't be afraid to keep writing. You have to keep on writing and kind of keep improving the craft, I think. And
yeah,
then just put it out there, and try and get it into the right hands, as it were. And see if there's anyone who's interested in it. And I think the more you do that, the more people are sort of interested in what you do. But I do think this is a business, and it's about treating it as a business, really, when it
yeah.
comes down. So and with teaching and things as well, it's a different
Yeah,
avenue. You've got sort of there's so many different things. I mean, obviously, I think as an artist as well, there's so much to keep up with, isn't there? You've obviously got your articles, if you're writing those, or your blogs, for example. And then doing things like this, like your podcasts or whatever. That it all helps. It all kind of ties into the same thing. But
yeah,
yeah, but the thing to not lose focus of, I suppose, is the creativity, is the sort of expression, really. And that's what it's really about. It's about expressing yourself and expressing your views. And I think there's so many people now that I've sort of heard doing sort of interviews and things like that are standing up for things, which is great. I love that. Certain things that just certain issues,
yeah,
and brilliant. It's great. I'm glad to hear people are doing that.
yeah. I had I just quickly mention I had a talented female artist from the Philippines, and she made a music on abuse and sexual abuse. What's
Oh,
happening with
glad
with
that she's doing that. Yeah.
yeah, and I thought that was really good. Yeah, absolutely, and she was telling me about that a couple of weeks ago. And that's what absolutely you can obviously, like you said, absolutely you can put messages in your music. And um, I suppose as a musician, they can if you're unreleased, you can obviously make a demo, send it to producers and stuff, see what they think. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And I think music is so great like that, and it has been quite a political outlet for a lot of, artists out there over, well, many, many years, spanning many, many years. So I think, that really is what music is about in many respects. It's about carrying, things like culture and and respecting those things, and issues and things, and kind of like bringing them to the forefront. And I think it's brilliant. If we can use it as a way of kind of creating change in the most positive ways, then I think that's fantastic. And promoting equality and things like that, then brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. We will also, obviously, just to mention, obviously on the YouTube, on our YouTube channel, we'll have Amanda's YouTube link on there as well, where we can check out music on there, music videos. So for the new single, because Zoom just gave me a little warning that time's finishing, but
Yeah.
so regarding your single, is there like a music video for that?
Yes, there is. For Simple Things. Yeah, that's right. There's a music video out on YouTube, so you'll find that there on my YouTube channel, and that's all. You can find that through my website. So it's Amy Lou Shaw, and I'll spell that out just so people can sort of know how to find that. It's AMIELOUSHAW. And you can just find me, through that, and then and it's amyloushaw.com. And then you'll find sort of all of my online stuff on there, and all of my projects that are going on at the moment, and yeah, social media and what have you. So thank you so much as well for having me
No,
on.
it is. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I didn't realize that there was there was that much less time remaining, to be honest, because obviously we were chatting about a lot of stuff regarding your music, and so you've released. So in total, how many music albums have you released?
It's a good question. I believe it's 5. I'll have to check that.
Okay.
I think it's 5 albums now at this point. But yes, and I've got a couple of singles as well. So, but yes, it's, as I say, it's all up online. So if people want to have a look for that, and on my website as well, I've got a link to literally everything I've ever released. So, and if you go to Reverb Nation as well, and it's / Amy Lou Shaw, you'll find all of my new stuff as well that I've been working on. And I think there's like 10 songs there or something. It's like completely new, never released. They're like kind of stuff I'm working on. So they're in different sort of stages of development. So you'll
Right.
hear kind of the stages of those developments as well on each track.
Fantastic. We will, like I said, the YouTube link will be in the description, and Amy's mentioned it for the audio listeners out there. They can go on to the YouTube channel, and you can get in touch with her via Twitter and Facebook, as well as TikTok as well. So lots of platforms there. If you want to get in touch,
There's
give her a
lots of
comments.
yeah,
Give her a
absolutely.
comment, and I will obviously retweet, mention that on my Twitter, our Twitter, Woman Agenda Podcast Twitter handler as well, and Facebook. We'll mention it as well. On there, Amy, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much
Thank,
for taking out the
thank
time. I know you are very busy with your music. And what about how is after the COVID? Uh, Quickly mention, how is promoting the music? How do you promote it?
it's yeah, I know it's been quite, it's taken, the industry's
Mm,
taken quite a hit from this, I think.
yeah.
But yes, I think it is starting to get back up and running again, thankfully. We've got festivals and things, so yes, so hopefully we can sort of promote through that. And I'm getting my band together now and things again, so I can go out there and gig again. So yeah, you should sort of be seeing that soon enough, which is I can't wait. I can't wait to get out there and perform live properly, these songs again. So I'm quite excited about that.
Absolutely, and we are looking forward to seeing you perform, and obviously looking forward to bringing you back on very soon on here. And thank you very much.
You.
Before Zoom shut me down, um, thank you very much for coming on. And like I said, guys, all the links will be on the YouTube channel. Amy's already told you guys. about it, but we'll mention the links on our platforms, Twitter, Facebook as well. So you can go onto her links and check out the music on there. And obviously, wishing you all the best for your single. I'm sure we will keep in touch anyway via LinkedIn. And wishing, I'm sure your music will do really well. How is it? How quickly mention? How is the response on the new single?
Going really well. Yes, I'm having a really good response to it. I've had lots of interviews and things about that, and lots of radio play, which is really exciting through Juice promotions. So, yeah, you should be hearing that kind of on various radio stations. I think they've got like 80 plus kind of radio stations or something like that. So,
Wow.
be on a
Wow, that's
lot.
amazing. That's amazing.
So,
And how just if someone asked me, so I can mention this if they're starting out, how would you promote yourself to a radio station for the first time?
well, you can go to various different websites for the radio stations, and then you'll find often there's a form that you fill in, and then you kind of contact them and say, I've got this track. I'd love it to be played on the radio station.
Okay.
Um, Give them a little bit of information about that, and then and that would be the way to do it. Just sort of check each of them. I mean, a good idea is to local radio stations to start with, really, and kind of online as well. That's a great place to start because obviously people do listen to all that. I mean, even in my car, I've got kind of like some online radio stations, I think that, I can listen to. I mean, it's amazing now, because you can have your phone on and of course you can listen to an online radio station. So in essence, those are doing almost just as well as some of the FM stations now, which is amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So
definitely. I've seen them as well. They are doing really well. Those people, the online station are doing really well now. So thank you very much, Amy. We will mention everything on our social media regarding this, and obviously we will provide you this interview in a bit as well. And so thank you very much for joining on the Woman Agenda podcast. This is Raj, and obviously known as Raj as well. Thank you very much, guys. And I will be back soon for another interview this coming week.